This is the Pseudoscience Iceberg. Pseudoscience is defined as a collection of beliefs or practices mistakenly regarded and is based on the scientific method. I like to say that pseudoscience is a kind of science that hasn't been proven by any scientific method. Now, some of these entries are not complete bullshit. However, most of them are. It's kind of like how alternate medicine is not medicine. I'm not going to cover things that are commonly known in a super extreme detail. One more thing, content warning, some of these entries are dark and disturbing. If you're the kind of person that can have their day ruined by having the wrong thing mentioned, feel free to leave the video running in the background. Alright, now let's get this party started. The 9/11 Truth Movement is a conspiracy that 9/11 was faked by whatever government. Ever wondered where Bush caused 9/11 to start the Iraq and Afghanistan war came from? Well, it came from here. Why did it start? Because apparently the third tower collapsed, even though it wasn't hit by a plane. There's this article that debunks the whole movement pretty well, but the interesting thing is that a New York Times and CBS poll in 2006 found that 53% of those questioned thought that the Bush administration was hiding something. Another US poll found that a third of those questions thought government officials either assisted in 9/11 or allowed them to happen. It's kind of weird. Astrology is more proof that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World ruined an entire generation of women.
Why is it possible? It's just why?
I'm sure you got some backwater white girls saying, oh my god, you're such a Gemini. The history of astrology is interesting because there's a ton of cultures that have attained importance to astronomical events, such as the Hindus, Chinese, and the Maya. However, Western astrology can be traced and its roots to about 19th, 17th century BCE Mesopotamia, where it was spread to ancient Greece and then Rome, the Arab world, and eventually Central and Western Europe. However, it's all bullshit. Just because there's a certain number of stars in the fucking sky does not mean that you'll have a worse day. How a lot of these go is that I'm an Gemini and it's a Friday and oh my god, I did have a family member that died within the last 10 years. The chemtrail conspiracy theory is a belief that long-lasting condensed trails made by planes, known as chemtrails, consist of biological or chemical agents left in the sky. Ooh, the government controls us with the chemtrails. Even though there's no evidence that purported chemtrails differ from non-water-based chemtrails routinely left by high-flying aircraft under certain atmospheric conditions, but it's really fun to blame the government for everything you don't like. Based. Climate change denial. Climate change denial is denial, dismissal, or unwarranted doubt that contradicts the scientific consensus on climate change. It's like how you have a coal worker and they go, oh yeah, you know the massive oil refinery that's just sitting right behind us? Yeah, they don't do shit to the environment. It's just propaganda to get people to dislike gasoline products. Creationism. This is the theory that God made everything, something that I happen to believe in. I'm not going to comment on much, but you're smart enough to know what I'm talking about. Eugenics. I can't really talk about this because YouTube won't let me, but if you don't know what this is, look it up. Holocaust denial. God fucking damn it! I can't say that either. Neuropathy. Okay, this one is interesting. Neuropathy is the belief that the body's ability to heal itself through special vital energy or force guiding bodily processes internally. The idea is to treat illnesses with alternate therapies and natural methods that neuropaths claim to promote the body's natural ability to heal. Some of the stuff they offer are kind of real. This is one of those where it's kind of half real. But neuropaths do not generally recommend vaccines and antibiotics, so they're kind of just more snake oil salesmen. Based in part on the early views that shaped the profession, they may provide some alternate remedies even in cases where evidence-based medicine have been shown effective. The New World Order is a theme in a lot of conspiracy theories that there is a secretive power elite with a globalist agenda conspiring to eventually rule the world through an authoritative one-world government. Alex Jones says it's stiff. Some fucking nerds, political scientists, I also use Twitter, are concerned over the mass hysteria that the New World Order theories have caused, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, it's really fun to hate the government, isn't it? Psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis is a set of theories and therapeutic techniques that deal with the unconscious mind. Ooh. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I don't really know anything about this. I'm not going to comment much on it. But according to Wikipedia, psychoanalysis is a controversial discipline and it's been largely replaced by psychodynamic psychotherapy. And fuck me if I know what that is. Vaccines cause autism. This one is fun. The title pretty much explains itself, but if you want more an in-depth video, please watch this video by hbomerguy. He explains everything with the whole thing of it, how far the rabbit hole goes. Watch his video, it's great. Dowsing. Dowsing is the practice of using rods to find some kind of underground materials. It's a bit weird, but what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take 2 rods and you ask them yes or no to figure out if there's either metal or water underneath them. And then the rods will point in certain directions depending on what prerequisites you set. This is complete bullshit. Studies have proven it's all just random chance. Moon landing conspiracy. This is the theory that claims that all of the launches of the Apollo program are fake, even though there are thousands of people who work on these projects. Don't you think anybody would have talked about it? Do you really think that they can control thousands of people? According to different polls, 6 to 10% of Americans, 25% of British people, and 28% of Russians believe that the crewed landings were fakes. It's interesting that the Russians think it, because they lost. Fox News in 2011 made a documentary called Conspiracy Did We Land on the Moon, claiming that NASA faked the first landing in '69 to win the space race. Nice. Hypnosis is another one of those pseudosciences that isn't complete bullshit, but the part that is bullshit is how much hypnosis can do for you. Hypnosis basically puts you in a kind of trance state where you're more able to accept certain information. It's not really something that's been explored a lot in scientific means. However, it has been used in the past as a form of therapy to deal with trauma, and it's had conflicting results. So this is another one that's not complete bullshit, but the application is not quite as vast as some people will say. Cryptozoology is a pseudoscience and subculture that searches for and studies unknown, legendary, or extinct animals whose present existence is disputed or unsubstantiated. It has roots in a lot of different folklore, talking about creatures such as Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, Yeti, etc. However, there's no scientific evidence or any kind of evidence at all to prove that these are real. There is no scientific evidence to prove that any of these cryptids, which is the term they use, that exist.
Hey, editor here. I would just like to add that there's a Cryptozoology Iceberg made by Pigpen that explains this topic real well. Make sure to watch it once you finish with this one.
Simpsons predicting the future. This is the really interesting phenomenon that the Simpsons on many different occasions have predicted the future. Most notably, they predicted that Trump would win the 2016 election sometime back in 2000. In a 2016 interview with a Hollywood Reporter, the writer of the episode, Dan Greeny, explained that the joke was meant to be a warning to the country. It just seemed like the logical last step from hitting bottom, he said. It was pitched because it was consistent with the vision of America going insane. But it's not like Matt Groening is sitting in the writer's room with a fucking crystal ball predicting the future. It's just that for a while, not now, the Simpsons were very in tune with American culture. Therefore, they probably had a decent sense of whichever direction it could go in. Also, there is a fuck ton of Simpsons, over 31 seasons. So it's kind of just inevitable that some things they're just gonna get right. Acupuncture. Acupuncture is another form of not medicine, usually defined as a pseudoscience because, similar to hypnosis, it's not complete bullshit, as it can be used for relaxation, but if it's ever used for anything more than that, it's just more snake oil, which is otherwise known as quackery. Keep that in mind when you use that term more. What's interesting is that the global acupuncture market is worth about $25 billion, which is just insane. And proponents of acupuncture claims that it can do a ton of different things. However, it's not really proven for anything besides relaxation. Everything else is just kind of bullshit. HIV/AIDS denialism. HIV/AIDS denialism is the belief that HIV doesn't cause AIDS, even though there's a lot of evidence that proves them wrong. Most say that HIV exists, but it's just a harmless passenger virus that doesn't cause AIDS, thus making a pseudoscience because there's no evidence backing up this claim, even though they claim there is. Something a bit fucked is that the South American government discouraged HIV-positive people to treat for AIDS because HIV doesn't cause AIDS. Sadly, though, public health researchers have attributed about 330,000 to 340,000 AIDS-related deaths to this, along with 171 other HIV infections and 35,000 infant HIV infections, due to the government's former, keyword former, they don't do it anymore, embrace of HIV denialism. Aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is based on the usage of aromatic materials, which are essential oils, odorants, aromas, fragrances, or flavoring, and allegedly they can improve your psychological or physical state. How? It can do anything. Aromatherapy can be used to help with digestive problems, eczema, and headaches, insomnia, and stress, and there's no good medical evidence that aromatherapy can either prevent, cure, or treat any disease, thus making it a pretty clear example of pseudoscience. This is another example of people using confirmation bias to explain why something works. It worked in this very specific situation, and no other, but fuck you, I'm not going to provide an example of when it doesn't work. Generally, if something can be a one-size-cure-all, it's bullshit, which is almost this entire tier list, but that's okay. Collodial silver treatment. There's a couple of actual real medical uses for silver, regular silver. Sometimes it's used for wound dressing, creams, and antibiotic coating on medical devices. However, what this iceberg is referring to is when alternate, not medicine scammers will sell collodial silver products, which are not only ineffective, but also quite dangerous. There was a bunch of fake products that was used for fake cures during the COVID-19 pandemic, and don't touch this shit. It's actually genuinely bad for you. Conversion therapy. This is the practice of attempting to change an individual's sexual orientation from homosexual to bisexual or heterosexual, or their gender identity from trans to cis, using psychological, physical, or spiritual interventions, whatever the fuck that means. It's basically trying to pray the gay away. It doesn't work, and horrifyingly enough, I can't say it on YouTube, but a lot of these conversion therapy tactics are basically just torture. Crystal healing. Crystal healing is the not medicine practice that uses crystals like quartz, agitate, amethyst, and opal, and they claim they have healing powers. They can boost a low energy, prevent bad energy, release blocked energy, and transform the body's aura. Whatever the fuck any of that means, even though there is no evidence for it. Funny story, when I worked as a TA for a special needs class, one of the other TAs was this fat bitch who believed all this shit. She also believed that she could talk to a kid's mom, which, fun fact, this kid had Down syndrome, and his mom died, and she thought he could talk to her from the grave. So fuck her and fuck anybody who believes in this kind of stuff. Cupping therapy. All right, this one is kind of weird. Cupping therapy is a form of not medicine where you place a cup on your skin. Yes, it's meant to help with all of these cool things. Lower back pain, poor appetite, indigestion, high blood pressure, acne, epidermitis, anemia, stroke rehabilitation, nasal congestion, infertility, and menstrual period cramping. How? Nobody knows, because it's not real. A good guideline to find out if something bullshit, like said previous, if it's a one cure fits all. Drink this potion to be cured of all conditions possible. Again, this is another example of quackery. It's not dangerous except for wet and fire cupping. This has led to cases of child abuse and some lawsuits, because if I was some random guy and I saw someone's kids have fucking welts on their skin, yeah, I'd be kind of concerned. Free energy machines. This is the pseudoscience that there are technologically viable, pollution-free, no-cost energy sources that are being suppressed by the government, corporations, or advocacy groups because fuck you. We want money. I guess it's called a pseudoscience because machines like perpetual motion machines, cold fusion generators, torus-based generators, reverse-engineered extra-traditional technology, and gravity propulsion systems are not real and can't be made because they're basically impossible or close to. The law of attraction. The law of attraction is the pseudoscientific belief that positive or negative thoughts that you have will bring positive or negative experiences into your life. What this means is that monkey think life become good or bad. Life will become good or bad because monkey believe it to be. Now, there is some spheres that were like, yeah, you should be thinking more positively, and you should have generally a positive outlook on life, and you should be grateful, and you should be appreciative. And if you do those things, then you will generally have a better life and better things will happen to you. But what they're not saying is that you can will positive experiences into existence literally. As stated before, I do think having a positive outlook on life is a good thing. Generally, your mindset is a pretty powerful thing. I just don't think because you really want that fit tomboy DF, that does not mean that one will just magically generate. You have to go out and get it. Lobotomies. Lobotomy is the pseudoscience / psychosurgery that's meant to treat mental disorders. Basically what they do is that it severs the connection between your brain's frontal cortex. So you know where they take the ice pick and they just crack it right in the front of your head? Yeah, that's a lobotomy. It's been shown many times that lobotomies do much more harm than good, and most doctors describe them as distinctively hazardous. Apparently, it is kind of possible to do it right and make a mental disorder better for someone, but most doctors agree that we just do not have the scientific understanding to make that happen, as most lobotomies have just left subjects as a vegetable. Most notably, the sister of John F. Kennedy, Rosemary Kennedy, had a lobotomy done on her, which left her incapacitated and institutionalized for the rest of her life. It has ties to eugenics and other not nice things, and it's generally outlawed to preserve patients' rights. Bizarrely enough, the creator of the lobotomy, Igas Moniz, received a Nobel Prize for it for whatever fucking reason, but these days there's an outcry to get it revoked, so let's get that shit out of here. Scientific racism. Scientific racism, sometimes termed biological racism, is a pseudoscientific belief that empirical evidence exists to support or justify racism. It's no longer considered scientific, even though for a time it was. Remember that scene in Django Unchained where Calvin talks about how the lobes on the African American's head and neck somehow make them dumber and it's just a bunch of bullshit, yeah, this is it. I can't go into it super depth because YouTube, but go ahead and read the Wikipedia article if you want to have your faith ruined in humanity and science for a bit. Trickle-down economics. Trickle-down economics is the term used for when the government, primarily the Reagan administration, gives large tax cuts or sizable tax cuts to the highest earners of society, the 1%. And this is supposed to make everybody richer, because the idea is that the rich will have more money to spend, right? Well, according to many economics and independent research services, there is no correlation between tax cuts for the rich and more money for everyone. The Tax Justice Network in 2012 found that the money instead tends to be amassed and sheltered in tax havens by the 1%, with a negative effect on the tax basis of the home economy. Because of the factors against TDE, it's considered as pseudoscience because it's not backed by anything. Polygraph. Polygraphs are lie detector tests, and they're considered pseudoscience because there are just way too many confounding variables to figure out if a lie detector test actually works. They're also apparently super easy to cheat on. Advocates for polygraphs claim that they are 80 to 90% effective. However, did you know that 99% of all statistics are made up?
Nice argument.
Advocates.
Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
The American Psychological Association states that most psychologists agree that there is little evidence to support that a polygraph test can actually detect lies. And generally, if it does, that's just kind of random chance. Christian Science. Christian Science is the idea that primitive Christianity has lost its element of healing. You don't need any kind of medicine. Just pray and you'll be okay. What proponents, mainly member of the First Church of Christ, say it is that you can still use medicine, but if you rely on God and the Spirit to cure you, that'll be your best option. And you can't use modern medicine because it just won't work as well. What these people don't realize is that miracles in the Bible are exceptions, not rules. The reliance on prayer and the avoidance of medical treatment has been blamed for the deaths of several attendees and their children. Between the 1880s and 1990s, parents and others were prosecuted for and convicted of manslaughter or neglect and various not fun things. The political compass is a test that Twitter users take to prove how much of a fucking idiot they are. The test is divided into two categories: economic left and right, and social, authoritarian, and libertarian. The main problem is that's just way too narrow. Politics is really complex, and yeah, it looks nice. However, this shit is just not easy to quantify. The original political compass website and test have also gotten flack because of the lack of a neutral button, as the only options listed are strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. The website answered that it would make it too easy for people to avoid difficult issues, which is weird. I think it'd just be better if they just don't have a don't know button. Because imagine if like someone stumbles across something and they're like, well, I don't know what this is. They might get thrown into a completely different category. Flat Earth. Fuck. You know what flat Earth is. It's a stupid fucking theory that the Earth's shape is a planar disk. It's been disproven over and over and over and over and over again, sometimes by the flat earthers themselves, but for some reason, they still believe it. The government is hiding it. Can't you see? Everybody's lying to you, except us, of course, because we're trusted. I'm so fucking sick of that. They can and have been disproven by many independent organizations that have nothing to do with the government. It makes me furious that these people just won't open up and they won't see the truth. And there's a reason for that. The reason why people refuse to not believe stupid shit is because something called the backfire effect. The backfire effect is a cognitive bias that causes people who encounter evidence that challenges their beliefs, because they take their beliefs and hold it so close to their self-identity and self-concept. They think it's so important. We can't have anybody disagreeing with me. I just can't, because this belief that I have is me. If you notice, the theme with a lot of these is that these beliefs become part of people's personalities. Astrology girls, to go all the way back, it means monkey see things that monkey don't think, and monkey get upset. What's fascinating about it is that the same parts of your brain that fight or flight are associated with fire off when you experience the backfire effect. And much of this has just gotten worse and worse and worse because of social media. So please, when you get pissed off that someone disagrees with you, at least try for me to hear them out. You never know what hole you could pull other people out, or maybe yourself out. Anyway, that's about it for part 1. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.